A blood cell is any type of cell found in blood. There are three main types of blood cells in mammals. In the image here, red blood cells on the left, white blood cells on the right, and the squiggly mushy yellow thing in the center is a platelet. Red blood cells carry oxygen. White blood cells kill bacteria and clean up debris. Platelets help heal wounds. Platelets are also called thrombocytes. These are small fragments of a cell called a megakaryocyte. The platelets take part in blood clots when injury occurs. In this picture of a blood smear, viewed through a microscope at around 500 times magnification, the large circles are red blood cells, and the small blue dots of different sizes are platelets. Here, platelets, shown in purple, are clotting together to form a seal to prevent you from bleeding out all of your blood anytime that you're cut. Red blood cells, also known as RBCs, red blood corpuscles, or erythrocytes, are cells in the blood which transport oxygen. In women, there are about 4.8 million red blood cells per microliter of blood. In men, there are about 5.4 million red blood cells per microliter of blood. Red blood cells are red because they have hemoglobin in them. Function. The most important function of red blood cells is to transport oxygen to the tissues. The hemoglobin absorbs oxygen in the lungs, then travels through blood vessels and brings oxygen to all other cells via the heart. The blood cells go through the lungs to collect oxygen and through the heart to give all cells oxygen. They go back to the heart to be repumped to the lungs to again collect oxygen, so the blood in your body travels in a double circuit, going through your heart twice before it completes one full circulation of your body. Red blood cells are donut-shaped, but without a hole. This shape is called a biconcave disc. However, hereditary diseases, such as sickle cell disease, can cause them to change shapes and stop blood flow in the capillaries and veins. Plasma is gotten from whole blood. To prevent clotting, an anticoagulant, such as citrate, is added to the blood immediately after it is taken. Discussion. Mammalian red blood cells are unique in that they have no cell nucleus in their mature form. These cells have a nuclei during development, but push them out as they mature. Mammalian RBCs also lose all other cellular organelles, such as their mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, and endoplasmic reticulum. All other vertebrates have nucleated red blood cells. As a result of not having mitochondria, the cells use none of the oxygen they carry. Instead, they produce the energy carrier ATP. Because they lack nuclei and organelles, mature red blood cells do not contain DNA and cannot synthesize RNA. They cannot divide and have limited repair capabilities. This also makes sure no virus can target mammalian red blood cells. Transport of CO2 in the blood. Carbon dioxide is carried in blood in 3 different ways. The exact percentages vary depending on whether it is arterial or venous blood. Most of it, about 68 to 83%, is converted to bicarbonate ions, HCO3 negative, by the enzyme carbonic anhydrase in red blood cells. By reaction, carbon dioxide plus water yields carbonic acid, which yields a proton plus bicarbonate. 5 to 10% of the CO2 is dissolved in the blood plasma, and 5 to 10% is bound in hemoglobin as carbamino compounds. The job of white blood cells, also called leukocytes, is to fight infections and cancer. They also remove poison, waste, and damaged cells from the body. The number of white blood cells increases when a person is fighting infection or disease, and decreases when a person is healthy. Types of white blood cells. Lymphocytes are round white blood cells, a bit bigger than red blood cells. Their center is round and they have little cytoplasm. Part of the lymphatic system, these target specific germs or poisons using their antibodies. There are 3 known types of lymphocytes, called T cells, B cells, and natural killer cells, or NK cells. B cells make antibodies, which are little molecules that attach to viruses or bad cells. These tell other cells to destroy the virus or bad cells, like a flag. T cells can either help make more B cells or kill cells with antibodies. Natural killer cells kill cells in the body that have been infected by a virus or that are part of a tumor. They are part of the innate immune system. Monocytes are reserve cells, which turn into macrophages and dendritic cells, which work together in tissues to fight disease. Monocytes have a kidney bean-shaped center and lots of cytoplasm. They may appear as macrophages in a non-round shape when they pass through tissue to eat germs, junk cells, and dead cells. The next 3 types of white blood cells are referred to as granulocytes, since they all contain rough, grain-like particles that assist in attacking viruses and bacteria. Granulocytes are also called polymorphonuclear leukocytes because of the shape of the nucleus, which has 3 segments. Neutrophils are the most abundant type of white blood cells in mammals. They make up 70% of leukocytes. They are an essential part of the immune system. They get to the site of an injury within minutes and make up much of the content of pus. They also have short lifespans of a couple of days. The nucleus, which looks like a string of beads, does not take up stain strongly. What this means is when a sample is stained to colorize the different components, neutrophils do not stain very brightly, so they are more difficult to see under a microscope. Like phagocytes, they actually eat the bacteria and dead cells. They also release a bunch of proteins which work to damage the bacteria. Basophils, or basophil granulocytes, are a rare type of granulocyte. If you collected 1,000 white blood cells, only 1 to 3 of them would be basophils. Their nucleus is hidden in granules, which turn dark blue in color when stained. Basophils carry histamine and heparin. They appear at sites of ectoparasite infection or allergies. We don't know exactly how they work. Eosinophils, or acidophils, are leukocytes. They are one of the immune system components which combat parasites and certain infections. As with mast cells and basophils, they deal with causes of allergy and asthma. Eosinophils are round cells with a lobe nucleus and granules which turn red when stained. These granules are packed with proteins that can be poured out to help destroy invaders. Cell testing. A test called a differential count shows how many white blood cells there are in a person's blood and how many of each type are there. A platelet is a cell fragment that circulates in the blood. Platelets are involved in homeostasis through the making of blood clots. A low platelet count can cause a person to bleed without their blood clotting. A high platelet count can increase the risk of thrombosis, which stops blood from flowing properly. Anatomy. Platelets do not have a cell nucleus. They are disc-shaped and are 1.5 to 3 micrometers in diameter. The body does not have a lot of platelets, so they can all be used up quickly. They contain RNA, a canonicular system, and several different types of granules. Lysosomes, containing acid hydrolases, dense bodies, containing ADP, ATP, serotonin, and calcium, and alpha granules, containing fibrinogen, factor V, vitronectin, thrombospondin, and von Willebrand factor, the contents of which are released when the platelet is activated.